All right, tonight on the show, WWE TLC, pretty much all booked up. We'll tell you what the matches will be in a couple weeks at TLC. We'll pay tribute to the late, great Pat Patterson, and AEW's new world champion is heading to Impact Wrestling? Crazy week in professional wrestling. Wrestling Uncensored starts now. Hey, yo. I'm Dave. He's Johnny. It's Wrestling Uncensored. Welcome to the show. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening, however you watch or listen to the program. We appreciate you. We are live every Friday night after SmackDown on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell when you do subscribe. Let me hit that thing. Boom. Where's the thing? Where's my... There we go. Like, subscribe, click the bell when you subscribe on YouTube so you get notifications each and every time we are on. We're on all the time. We're always doing shows. Every Friday night we're here talking about professional wrestling. Every Thursday night we're here at 8 p.m. talking MMA. Well, I'm here. Freddie and AJ are here. Johnny's not usually here. And then sometimes we do watch-alongs on Saturday nights or Sunday nights. You know the deal. We do all sorts of stuff. Our next wrestling watch-along will be on the 20th of December for WWE TLC. And our next UFC watch-along will be next Saturday, the 12th, UFC 256 Figueiredo versus Moreno. So we'll be doing a UFC watch-along for that next Saturday. More on that coming up on Thursday. But tonight, Johnny, let's talk about professional wrestling. Let's talk about what's going on in the WWE. And let's start with TLC and what's happening there. WWE making a whole lot of matches this week. I think the biggest one tonight made on SmackDown, Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Kevin Owens in a TLC match. It's what we were hoping for. It's what we are getting. Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns doing an in-ring promo tonight on SmackDown. A lot of promos tonight on SmackDown. And Kevin officially challenging Roman to a TLC match. Roman accepting. It's on. Roman, Kevin Owens, TLC, at TLC. Johnny North, happy with this? This is a good match. Should be good, right?
Yeah, I'm happy with the match. The whole setup to it, not a huge fan of the promo. I didn't like how Kevin was like kind of trash talking Jey Uso, saying like, "Oh, you're just a busboy," when they air the package saying how like, "Oh, Roman, you treat your family like garbage," and then Kevin treats Jey Uso like garbage. So I'm like, so who's the good guy in this? Because Roman's bringing up some good points, so it's like I don't get who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in this.
Well, it feels like Kevin Owens is the bad guy. He's outnumbered, right? Why is Roman the good guy?
He's bringing up some good points. I mean, he is the guy. There's no question about it. I mean, the whole show revolves around Roman Reigns.
Uh-huh. And?
So, like, how is he bad? Like, for the fact that he's the best, that he brags about it somewhat.
Well, he's not very humble, right? He used to be more humble. Used to be nicer. Kevin Owens is talking about how Roman used to be one of the boys, part of the team. He used to dress in the same locker room as everybody else, but now he's separate because he's got an inflated ego. It's all gone to his head, right? That seems like a bad guy, John. I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
I don't know. Kevin comes off as a bit of a hypocrite, so to me that's kind of a bad guy. And Hulk Hogan had his own dressing room. The Rock had his own dressing room. Were they terrible people? Like, I think they're the most beloved heroes in wrestling, but I guess it's all how you look at it.
All right. I don't really see what you're talking about here as far as Roman being a heel in this, or a babyface in the feud. He seems like the heel as far as I'm seeing it. But the match itself, TLC, like, I feel is one of the only ways to save this actual in-ring exhibition. Like, the match itself needed some spice. It needed something. Kevin, Roman one-on-one for the belt is kind of TLC, you know it's going to be fun. You know it's going to be special. They're going to do something. They're going to try. Kevin Owens is going to go out there and try and steal the show. The problem is we're going into TLC with two great wrestlers challenging for the two main titles. Kevin Owens challenging for the SmackDown belt, the Universal title. AJ Styles challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE title over on Raw. And I just don't see either of them winning. You know, I'd like to see them win. Right. Those are two guys I like to see in main events. You know, AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, they're main event guys. And I know that they're going to go out there and they're going to deliver some of the best matches that Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns have had in this current run and maybe in their entire careers. But at the same time, I don't really believe that AJ Styles or Kevin Owens will walk away from TLC as champions, right? So that's the problem going into this. It's like, yeah, all right. Well, you're giving us two matches that could be good, but the two guys that are making them good don't really have a shot in hell of walking away champion. And that's a little bit of a disappointment. Like Drew's run with Randy, all those matches have not been particularly great. Roman's run with Jey Uso, those matches have not been good. Drew and Roman both need a good match, a good in-ring contest. AJ Styles is the guy you want when you need a good match. Kevin Owens is another one of those guys. WWE uses guys like that to put over the guys that they want as champion. The problem is, it makes their champions kind of, And, you know, when it seems obvious that neither guy is going to win the belt, it also makes your pay-per-views kind of, not great, right? Do you think either guy has a shot in hell, Johnny? Come on, man. Come on, don't bullshit me. You know.
Well, it's not about, like, you know, if we're going to see a brand new champion or not. It's about strengthening the champions we have right now by giving them two solid matches.
Right.
And people will be talking about what a great match, not about, oh, like, we didn't see that title change. Like, it's all about having good matches, not just creating great moments. And the fact that you're getting AJ and Kevin in these kind of matches, I feel like you're almost guaranteed you're going to get some good moments.
But don't you want to give the fans something that they could wonder about?
That's what the other matches are for. Possible title changes in those matches. I mean, let's face it, like these, like in between pay-per-views from the big ones, like, do you ever really see the big titles change hands on these pay-per-views? Not too much.
Unless they're trying to set something up, and I think right now they're just waiting for the Rumble. Which is kind of crazy. Like, this pay-per-view here coming up, TLC, last pay-per-view before the Rumble.
Well, it's the last pay-per-view of the year, right? I mean, you make it special, but I don't think a title change is what we're getting. Not, again, from the top titles. Maybe the bottom tier titles, yeah, for sure. But top tier is going to stay on top because, let's face it, Roman and Drew, they're the guys they started with. Yeah. Pretty much when this year started, that they wanted these guys to be on top, and that's the way the year's going to end.
I don't disagree with you. AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre will go at it at TLC in a one-on-one match. It should be all right, but I think Roman and Kevin Owens could steal the show in that TLC. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a good match, and that's really all you can hope for. Just would like to see Kevin Owens in more main event programs because he's very talented. You know, he's fun to watch. I enjoy his work. Speaking of the Rumble, though, who's your pick to win the Rumble? Like, TLC's coming up in 3 weeks. You know, last pay-per-view before the Rumble. You would think at this point, like a month and a half out, they would have an idea as to who is going to win the Royal Rumble and go on and face a champion at Mania. And I was thinking about it this week, and I looked up and down the roster, and, what they're doing kind of story-wise. And I feel like Sheamus is the odds-on favorite to win the Rumble and challenge Drew at Mania, which sucks. But, right? Like, I don't love that. But, they have their whole tag team thing, and they teamed up on Raw this week, and it doesn't really make sense because you're like, well, Sheamus is kind of a heel, and Drew's kind of a babyface, and Sheamus is kind of acting pathetic on Raw, and Drew's, like, making fun of him. It's kind of confused there. Like, who's the babyface, who's the heel there? Drew was kind of mean to Sheamus on Raw, was he not? Like, why was Drew so mean to Sheamus? That was weird.
That was to inspire. He said it though. It was to inspire him though. Like he was just making fun of him a little bit, but it was to kind of psych him up for the match. Like he told him, like, "Are you ready now?" So that was for that. It wasn't mainly to just make fun of him. It was also to, like, push him.
Well, let's break this down for a second, John. Miz and Morrison host Miz TV. Sheamus is the guest. They talk about Drew McIntyre. Miz is trying to drive a wedge between Sheamus and Drew, saying, Sheamus, how come Drew isn't giving you a title shot? I'd give John Morrison a title shot if I were champion. And then Sheamus decides to attack Miz after Miz says Sheamus' career is a joke. Sheamus attacks Miz. Morrison and Miz beat up Sheamus, just beat him down, hit him a couple times with the briefcase. Drew McIntyre does not come out to make the save for his friend Sheamus, who he's teaming with later that night to face these two guys. You would think that Drew would have come out to make the save, but he does not. Sheamus is backstage. Drew shows up, is laughing at Sheamus. Sheamus just took a 2-on-1 beatdown with a weapon. His friend, who's supposed to be the top babyface on this show, is laughing at him, and he's like, "Oh, too bad, fella, blah, blah, blah." What? Why is Drew such a dick? That's what I wrote in my notes after watching this promo. Why is Drew such a dick? Why is he such a dick to Sheamus? I mean, this will not go unchecked. I feel like they're setting us up for the Drew versus Sheamus match, and it might be at WrestleMania. Because, as crazy as it sounds, we're kind of in WrestleMania season right now, John. It doesn't feel like we are, but we are kind of gearing up for the Rumble. And once the Rumble hits and you have a Rumble winner, well, shit, you know what's next. So, I don't know. It's another pandemic mania. I don't know how it's going to go this year. Last year was a mess. This year, who knows? But I just don't see a great winner of the Royal Rumble this year. Like, unless they have The Rock come out number 30 and he wins the Rumble and he challenges Roman at Mania and oh shit. Other than that,
that'd be great.
Sheamus.
Well,
Big E maybe?
I like this. Yeah, Big E would be nice, but again, that's kind of a long shot kind of thing. It's like Kevin Owens last year kind of thing. I would like to see Edge, because Edge made a great return last year, and it's like, well, give it to him this year.
And
or
win?
Next year.
And win the Rumble?
Yeah, win.
Does he need to win a Rumble at this stage in his career, though? Seems like a bit of a big accomplishment you give to this guy who's kind of done it all already.
Well, the fact that he was willing to come back from such a devastating injury. And let's face it, that was probably one of the biggest reactions last year when he came out. I mean, it's kind of unfair.
He wins the Rumble. He wins the Rumble. He tears his Achilles in the process, and he doesn't make Mania. I wouldn't give the Rumble to Edge. He's injury prone. I mean, he is. Look at his whole career. Look at his. I love Edge. I hate to say these mean, truthful things about him, but the guy's body can no longer stand up to the rigors of professional wrestling.
He might be right. I mean, is it worth it long term in a sense? But
I
feel like WWE doesn't. Yeah, but WWE doesn't do it for that. They just do it for the reactions.
When
they
you
just
come,
do it for
what reactions? The fake crowd reactions they pump into the arena? What reactions? There are no reactions. I think Edge
for the
needs
Rumble,
to chill. Come on, man. You come back from, 10 years away after you retire because your neck is broken in a million pieces. You come back, you have 2 matches, and you're out for like a year with another injury. You're like 48, 50 years old at this point. Like, come on, man. I was happy when he came back, but like at a certain point, you wonder. He's 47. He's not that old. I just saw a 61-year-old man debut for AEW. So, Edge is not that old considering. But, he's had a lot of health issues. And he came back and it didn't work. So, I don't know about Edge winning the Rumble. Who do you guys want to see win the Rumble? I see guys there. I see Lauren Cronish is on the chat. Bob Cote, Mako8033. Mako says he wants Johnny North to win the Rumble, but blonde. He wants you to dye your hair for some reason. JC on the chat. Who do you guys see winning the Rumble this year? Or next year, I guess. But we're almost there, The year's almost over, thank God. And we're going to get to the Rumble. It's the next pay-per-view after TLC. I don't know. I'd say Sheamus right now, John.
Well, sadly, there's not a lot of top contenders when you think about it.
That's right.
Besides, if The Rock came back, and that's the sad part. It's like you need someone to come back to make it interesting, and that's the problem. Like a lot of these guys, unfortunately, in WWE, like they're not super over right now that you could believe them main eventing WrestleMania.
Yeah. But that's kind of what I felt last year, and they gave it to Drew McIntyre, and I was like, Drew McIntyre. Still not really feeling that, but hey, we're in it.
I understand.
We're in it. Almost a year into it, and it's kind of like, oh, it's still happening. All this Drew stuff. Drew and AJ. What did Drew and AJ do this week on Raw?
Well, AJ became number 1 contender.
Oh, yeah, he had that match with Matt Riddle and Keith Lee to open up the 3rd hour of the show. I thought that match was good. Nice triple threat. Nice win for AJ. We were wondering, was AJ going to win? It didn't make sense, though. We should have seen it coming. He was the only heel in that match. Drew, as a supposed babyface champion, needed a heel to go up against him at TLC. I thought maybe Keith Lee, but they went with AJ. Can't ever argue with AJ Styles winning a match and getting a title shot, right?
Well, when you think about it, he's probably one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. So it's never a bad idea to put him in a top pay-per-view spot, because if you think about it, he's one of the most entertaining guys on TV weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So why not? Like, he got a great promo, and he has some of the best matches week in, week out. It just makes sense.
Yeah, he's by far the best performer on Raw, right? Like, is there anybody that comes close to AJ Styles? On the microphone, in the ring. He's everything you'd want in a wrestler and world's champion.
When you think of complete package, I don't think anyone touches AJ on Raw.
Not even close.
But but there are still great talent. We saw some decent matches this week. I thought Jeff Hardy, that was absolutely insane this week.
The Jeff Hardy Elias Symphony of Destruction match.
Yes, well, and I'm mainly talking about that insane bump that Jeff did at the end. I don't know. I know you tweeted the video of that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It was horrific. Jeff Hardy has Elias on, he was on a table, right, outside the ring, but at a weird angle near the steps. Jeff goes on the top rope. Elias is outside the ring. Jeff does his swanton through the table, but his head smacked down on the ring steps as he came to a crash, and that was the finish of the match. I thought Jeff got a concussion. But that brother Nero, he always gives into his spot monkey addiction. And that's what he did once again. And that's just another death-defying stunt by Jeffrey Nero Hardy that we have become accustomed to seeing over the past, 20 years of his ridiculous career. It's been an incredible career. He's a legend of the business. And somehow, if Edge is 47, how old is Jeff Hardy? Jeff Hardy.
I want to say
he's
just
43.
40 or 41.
He's 43.
Okay, wow.
Do you remember any time when Jeff has taken a long period of time off due to some sort of injury? I don't. What's he made out of, rubber? Like, this guy is ridiculous. Everybody said in, like, 1999, oh, kid, you can't keep wrestling like that. You're going to be all busted up. You won't make it to 40. You'll be in a wheelchair. He's still wrestling and still wrestling basically the same way that he used to. Like, it's toned down, but not by much. And then you see him do stuff like that, and you're like, jeez. And you see his brother Matt over in AEW, same thing, man, in his 40s, older than Jeff, right? He's the older brother. And he's just as crazy as shit with Sammy Guevara. Ridiculous. Those Hardy Boys, man, they are wild. They are no fear forever, right? Team Extreme. They still live that gimmick. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, for the first match on Raw, I thought that was a great way to start. I know we complain that they kind of start off the show kind of weak sometimes, but in terms of the first match, that was great.
Yeah, it was a good match to start off the show, but that's not what started off the show.
Oh, let's not talk about what started off the show.
Let's talk about what started off the show.
Raw.
Because you can't start a show like this. They've got to learn. Like, AEW is smart. They start the show hot every week. They give you a cool match to start the show right away so you're excited. They had a big battle royal to start the show this week. It was good. Raw starts with, like, the worst segment that no one wants to see. It's Alexa Bliss hosting Moment of Bliss with Randy Orton. Alexa loves Randy. She says he's her favorite superstar. And she talks about the Fiend, and then Randy goes into this whole obviously memorized speech about how the Fiend and I are very similar. Except the Fiend, he exposes his pain while I keep it bottled inside. Because I'm Randy, and I have inner pain. Poor Randy. Shut the fuck up, Randy. Randy's like, we both hear voices. And Alexa seems confused by the promo. I was confused by the promo. It was awful. It was so bad. It's like somebody wrote that shit for Randy, memorized it, he went out there, and just delivered this awful, awful promo. Whoever wrote that, whoever authorized that, fire them. Fire Randy, too. God damn it. That promo sucked. Fire Alexa Bliss. Fire Bray Wyatt. Fire them all from the company. Because I'm sick of seeing all three of them. I mean, Alexa, give her a different gimmick. Maybe she can stay. But Randy and Bray Wyatt need to go. These sons of wrestlers who have been blessed with the hand of the WWE for their entire careers, who, if it were not for the WWE taking care of them, protecting them, always giving them spots, they would be nowhere in professional wrestling. Fucking nowhere. And instead, we have to sit through more Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt matches. They have the worst matches ever. Like, if you thought Randy and Cena was bad, wait until you see Randy and Bray Wyatt. These two guys have, like, what's the opposite of chemistry? Because that's what they have. They both suck individually. And then you put them together, and they're two of the most plain, boring, uninspired WWE carbon copies of each other. Punch, boot, do nothing, try nothing, don't experiment, non-artist, just in it for the fucking paycheck wrestlers you will ever see. Fucking garbage. I don't want to see those guys ever again. That promo sucked. It was shit. That match that they have at TLC is going to be Miz-level garbage. Terrible. These guys are awful. Like, if they were fired, I know they never will fire them because they love them so much. It's So many marks in the pro wrestling business talk about, oh, Randy's so smooth. He doesn't do shit. He fucking sucks. He's boring as fuck. Bray Wyatt is like the same but fat. He's like Randy but short, fat with tattoos. Long hair and dumber views on the world. Thinks the earth is flat, believes in lizard people. Like the man, Bray Wyatt. The real guy, not Bray Wyatt. What's his real fucking name? Rotunda? Bo Rotunda? Wyndham Rotunda. Bo's his brother, right? Wyndham Rotunda.
Right.
You're 33 years old. You believe in lizard people. You're fucking stupid, bro. You're stupid, Wyndham. You're a stupid fuck, and you suck at wrestling. You're boring as all shit. Wyndham. Fucking thinks there are lizard people walking among us. For a shoot, he believes this. And you wonder why his promos suck. He has no idea how to entertain. This guy wouldn't know entertainment if it bit him in the rambling rabbit. Fucking Bray Wyatt. Sick of this guy. Fire him.
Well, my main problem with that opening segment was that apparently we were supposed to take away from that was that we saw the Fiend was vulnerable for like the first time ever. And like, that's not what I took away from that. Like, apparently the Fiend was supposed to be begging for Randy to give Alexa back. I don't know if that's what you felt.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel that from that. It just felt
kind
awkward. Like,
kind of. So like,
kind of, but not really.
So Randy is like, so the lights go out, and then Randy is holding Alexa in his arms like she's a child.
Right.
And then the Fiend shows up, and he's like, give me Alexa back. And then he does, and then he rolls out of the ring. And then Randy's like, who's laughing now? Like, Randy's supposed to, like, out-evil the Fiend. That was the whole promo. It was like, Randy hears voices. Randy's more evil than the Fiend. Randy's the heel. Fiend is supposed to be a babyface. It's fucking atrocious wrestling. It's so bad. And to start Monday Night Raw with this is lunacy. Vince has completely lost it. It's over, man. It's over. Dynamite was good as hell this week. Raw and SmackDown were awful. White flag this shit, Vince. Send Triple H out in his underwear. We give up. We suck. Let's do a talent exchange. Hey, maybe Kenny Omega wants to come on our show too? We have no more ideas. Fucking Triple H. Big doofus.
To be fair, Raw got better.
Fucking
as we've already stated.
Fucking stupid. What?
As we said already, like, Raw got better.
Did it?
It just didn't start well.
Did it?
Well,
though?
yes, the Jeff Hardy match was good.
Okay,
the triple threat match was good.
It got better, and then Slapjack wrestled Ricochet.
I had no problem with the match. Like, what was wrong with the match?
I don't know. His name's Slapjack. And then, like, all the Retribution guys were distracting Ricochet. And then Dana Brooke slapped Mustafa Ali during the match for no reason in particular.
Well, that was the setup and match later on.
Yeah, against Reckoning, right? Except when Dana Brooke is talking shit to her on social media, she tags at Mia Yim Official.
Whatever, she screwed up, like.
No, that's her name on fucking Instagram. That's Reckoning's name on Instagram. Mia Yim Official. Because her name is Mia Yim. That's her wrestling name. She hasn't changed it on Instagram. But Dana Brooke is cutting promos on her on Instagram to Mia Yim Official. It's like everything's confused. Whoa. Patrick C. Hamilton dropped in the super chat. We appreciate you, Patrick. Says keep it up. Thank you, Patrick. People are loving the show. Oh, no. JC's asking me what I think of The Miz. People are just trying to get me riled up now on the chat. I see you, JC. I see you, Patrick. Thank you. We appreciate you. Sorry, John. I'm getting riled up, man.
Just to finish on this Reckoning thing, like, it's not confusing. I mean, her mask fell off, and they still just called her Reckoning. So
did her mask fall off, or did she wrestle without the mask on?
like, she went and she charged at Dana, and like her mask fell off.
So she doesn't wrestle with a mask on? Like, she's Mia Yim. She was in NXT for so long. She was in TNA for so long. Yeah, okay.
They don't acknowledge it. She's just Reckoning.
Yeah, all right. So she's Reckoning. Lana and Asuka beat Shayna and Nia. Shayna had Lana in her chokehold. Asuka hit a running knee on Shayna, and then Lana just pinned her. Lana pinned Shayna. And here's what I want to know. Last week, Lana and Asuka beat Shayna and Nia. This week, they have a rematch, and it's non-title? Like, you beat the champs in a non-title match. The rematch is supposed to be for the belts. Why would they have two non-title matches?
Well, I'm going to guess, like, the way they could justify this is the fact that this was, like, a first-time ever kind of thing for this team teaming, so it's to see that it wasn't a fluke and that they have to earn the shot. So now they've earned the shot in a sense. The only problem is I had a problem with the finish there because, like, they keep harping about this whole, like, the illegal person can't hit the legal person, yet that's clearly what happened on the finish, and the referee had no problem with that. Yet, as we saw at the end of SmackDown, that was a huge problem. So there's a lot of inconsistencies in terms of how they book their matches. But
that's true. That's true. Asuka hit Shayna with a knee, and Asuka was not legal when she did that, and the ref saw it, right? So Asuka should have been disqualified because on SmackDown, when it was Roman and Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens and Otis, Roman was the illegal man. He jumps in, puts Kevin Owens in a chokehold, and the referee calls for a disqualification. That's a very astute observation, Johnny North. That is true. The rules are not the same, I guess, on Raw and SmackDown. Blue brand rules. And we always know that on SmackDown, for some reason on SmackDown, it's like disqualifications seem to happen faster. I don't know if it's because on Fox and there's like, they have to be more conservative of a wrestling show. I don't really know. But doesn't it seem like on SmackDown, historically, they have weird disqualifications for things that wouldn't be disqualifications on Raw? Like, only on SmackDown does a wrestler get just thrown into the announce table, not even put through the announce table, but like tossed over it. And I've seen somebody disqualified for that on SmackDown, right? But on Raw, it's just like, yeah, it's fine. It's there, right? It's
I
it's
thought
arbitrary.
It was going to happen tonight.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to happen. I thought in the Baron Corbin match, because I think he threw Murphy over like the announcers or the timekeepers area. I thought he was going to get DQ'd for that.
Yeah.
It didn't happen, but I thought it was going to happen.
No, because sometimes things matter and sometimes they don't, because they don't really pay attention.
Right.
Why should we? They don't give a shit. They don't put any thought into this show. Why should we? It's a dumb show. That's why I'm just like, well, fuck everybody. They should all be fired. They suck. Because it's a dumb show. I'm going to say dumb shit about it because, like, I'm not going to give it the proper respect. It doesn't need respect. It's a stupid fucking show. They don't pay attention. Why should we care? Cedric Alexander and Xavier Woods had a good match. I thought that was fine. Cedric beat Woods. I like those guys. New Day, Hurt Business. They're all talented guys.
You got to give WWE credit in the sense they have some amazing athletes. And
they
can
have
do some amazing things in that ring.
They have a great roster. It's just, they don't know what to do with it. We had AJ Styles versus AJ Styles, Matt Riddle, and Keith Lee. Very good triple threat match. Your main event was Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus Miz and Morrison. That should not main event anything ever. That shouldn't even happen.
No, I get why it happened. It shouldn't have been the main event. It should have been maybe the main event of the second hour, but unfortunately, you have the WWE champion, so you got to put him in the main event. Unfortunately, that match wasn't that great, but I get it because you had AJ on commentary, and it kind of helped set up their match because it looked like AJ was trying to screw Drew out of the title, and then they had the confrontation at the end. So I get why they did it. It's just that match wasn't anything to write home about.
Like, you get why they did it, but getting to the point took forever, and we had to sit through Miz wrestling. the whole point of that match was for AJ Styles to hit Drew McIntyre with the phenomenal forearm to set up Miz possibly cashing in Money in the Bank. But Miz, instead, because he's stupid, was mad at AJ Styles for causing a disqualification and loss for his team, even though AJ was just trying to get Miz to cash in the Money in the Bank. It took too long. Drew revived, hit Miz with his kick. AJ was in trouble with Drew, but his bodyguard, Omos, what's his name?
I think Omos or Almost.
Omos?
Yeah, one of the two.
Anyways, AJ's bodyguard pulled him out of the ring, and that was Raw. Not good.
You're also forgetting about that Nia Jax when she went out of the ring part. I thought you were going to mention that, but
What happened?
you didn't see it where, I think she got whipped across the ropes, or like she was going off the ropes, and like Lana pulled the ropes down like super early.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
she went out anyways.
Oh, yeah. That was horrible. But they kind of saved it because, like, I know what you're talking about. So Lana, like, Nia's supposed to run to Lana, and Lana's supposed to pull the ropes down so Nia falls out of the ring, right? But
Right.
Nia turns around, and Lana's already pulling the ropes down before Nia can even start running. So Nia decides to run anyways and just fall out of the ring. But she didn't really take a big tumble out of the ring. She stood there, and then Lana and Asuka jumped on them, and her and Shayna did like a move. So you could make the case that Nia knew what she was doing, and it was just setting up to catch Lana and Asuka playing possum so they could do that swinging tandem move, her and Shayna on the outside. You know what I mean? So it wasn't that bad, but when I saw it, I was like, whoa. But then the next spot, they kind of made up for it. Like, if Nia had fallen out of the ring on her own completely and then been dazed and taken more offense, then I would have been like, oh, what the hell? But she fell out of the ring on her own, but then caught Lana when Lana thought she had her kind of in trouble. You know what I mean? So maybe she was playing possum, a little possum ski.
Fine. That's a great way to justify it. Wow, it's kind of impressive. It's just it didn't look good visually. Like looking at it, like the way she went out of the ring like that, it looks really bad and more fake than it should be. So
yeah,
that hopefully, I mean, it happens unfortunately, and the fact that it's live television, there's not much you can do about that. But it's
yeah, I've seen worse botches though.
Oh yeah, I've seen worse botches, but I kind of worry about, like, we've seen this match a couple of times now. Like, how is, like, having it a third time? Is it going to really be is it going to get any better? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't that bad. You know, Dana Brooke versus Reckoning. Dana, I don't understand. How come Dana wins? Mustafa Ali's ringside. Dana's by herself. Mustafa tries to do the distraction finish. Doesn't work. And Dana just rolls up Reckoning. And then Mustafa was like all mad at Mia Yim and started yelling at her after the match. That was weird.
Well, I guess it's one of those things where, because Retribution won the first match, and now, like, I guess they had to get their comeuppance in a sense, right? So that's, they kind of just broke even for the night, where they won one, they lost one. So it kind of kept them even where they're at. Like, they're a decent group, but they're not a super strong group,
Yeah, they're not a very strong group. Yeah, I don't love Retribution, and I don't really see much of a future for them. What did you think of all the Pat Patterson stuff tonight on SmackDown? A lot of tributes rolled out by the WWE for the great Pat Patterson. He passed away this week at the age of 79. Pat Patterson, a legend in professional wrestling, not only a great wrestler in the ring, but when his in-ring career was done, he was instrumental in the WWE. He was Vince's right-hand man for years, especially in those early days. And some of the greatest ideas, some of the greatest concepts that you've ever seen, a lot of them are attributed to Vince McMahon, but really should be attributed to Pat Patterson. People that don't know how influential Pat was, should really understand that this guy was, He was the guy for The Rock, for Stone Cold, for Shawn Michaels, for Bret Hart. They all turned to him backstage when they needed ideas, when they needed that spark of creativity. He was the one helping all those legendary matches get planned. He was the one planning the matches. Vince was the big ideas man as far as the stories and all that stuff, the big stories, the angles. But Pat Patterson had a lot of those ideas as well, and he was very, very into creating the match and the finish of the match. I mean, the guy was a wrestling genius. I don't think there's ever been another guy like Pat Patterson with that creativity. I'd say probably if you were to compare him, as far as the influence and the guys in the business that he's influenced and the amount of gimmicks and characters and all that stuff that he's been a part of, I'd say, you compare Pat to Vince McMahon and to Dusty Rhodes, and that's about it. Pat is a legend of the wrestling business. I don't know how many people really, I'm sure a lot of people understand that, but I think a lot of people don't quite get the impact that Pat Patterson had. Of course, he created the concept of the Royal Rumble. He invented the Royal Rumble. I mean, that's enough. But, I talk to people. I think people in pro wrestling understand the impact Pat Patterson had and how important he was. But, Pat was from Montreal. That's where we live, right? That's where we're from. And I feel like he wasn't recognized as much as he should have been in the city. Like, people didn't really realize that one of the most important guys in the history of the professional wrestling business was a Montrealer. People, I feel, didn't know Pat locally as well as they should have. I don't think he was celebrated as much as he should have been. Quite frankly, when he passed away, there were some tributes here and there, but I think that this city should recognize Pat for who he was, what he represented, and representing us, on a grand stage. This guy was a French-Canadian man, a Quebec guy, Pat Patterson. Of course, not his real name. His real name was, I'll give that to you in a second. What was Pat's real name? But this guy, he was, of course, he was a gay man, and in his day it was not easy growing up, being a professional wrestler in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s as a gay man. Wasn't easy for Pat. Sometimes he had to conceal, who he truly was. But he was definitely a trailblazer. And Pierre Clermont was his real name. Born in Montreal on January 19th, 1941. Passed away in Florida on December 2nd of this year. Pat was a legend, man. I used to see him a lot around the city. He lived in Montreal in the summertime. Used to run into him all the time. Always awkward interactions. I didn't quite know what to say to him. He didn't seem like he wanted to talk to me, and that's okay. He didn't want to talk to some average Mark wrestling fan on the street, Didn't have time for that. And I understood that. I gave him his space. I said, hello, Pat, and then that's it. You move on. I think he liked being recognized, though. Who wouldn't? But I never bothered the guy. Saw him a lot, actually. Saw him tons of times around the city, all over the place. Johnny, I'm sure you've had the chance to meet and talk to Pat Patterson, right? I feel like nobody in professional wrestling in Montreal hasn't at one point or another been or seen or talked to Pat Patterson at one point, right? If you're involved in pro wrestling in this city, you've seen Pat around. You've talked to Pat and you know something about Pat, right?
Well, I was fortunate to get to meet Pat a couple of times. Like, he actually gave me a bit of advice. Like, I did a promo for him. I did a wrestling match for him. So that was really awesome just to get advice back from those interactions, and like to see like how he put like his 2 cents on what I was doing. It really just that little bit he gives, like it's like, wow, it really opens your eyes kind of thing. Like I get what you're talking about when you're saying like how he was able to make something in the wrestling business, how he created magic in a sense. like I understand it now because it's like, wow, like I didn't look at it the way like he does, but now I get it now, like what he was talking about. Like, wow, I didn't see it like the way he was talking about before, but now it's like, wow, that kind of opens my eyes the way he kind of puts things, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
he had a different way of looking at wrestling than I did, but it's like, wow, this makes it so much better. He just made wrestling better.
That's a mastery. He was a master of professional wrestling. He was a guy that saw it, that's seen it all, done it all, been everywhere, and he could just kind of throw those things out there. And Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, like I said, some of the greatest guys of all time, Hulk Hogan, they all credit Pat with being so instrumental and so helpful in their careers, and adding that and giving them the advice and helping them tweak their matches to make them special and memorable. And I don't think the WWE's quite been the same since Pat left. I remember when Pat stopped being backstage, stopped being in Gorilla for all the shows, like you noticed a difference. The quality went down. It's like when a TV show loses a great writer or a great producer or whatever, some of these programs need certain people to keep the glue together. And that original WWF, that show that everybody loves and remembers, over the years it has lost pieces. And Pat Patterson was such an important piece of that special magic, like it's hard to compare Pat Patterson to anybody else in entertainment because he did so many things, but he's a guy that you wouldn't see it on the screen, but behind the scenes, so very important. So very important. And I don't think the WWE's ever been the same. It's been the same since Pat decided to retire. It's a different company. And seeing Pat go, it's sad. He's part of that era that's slowly going away. I saw Vince and Jerry Briscoe on the stage there, looking really old. Makes me sad. Because I remember when they were, the Stooges, Vince was, in the late 90s when Pat and Jerry, they were like they weren't young men, but they weren't old men, right? Vince was still young enough, jacked, taking bumps, wrestling, didn't look the way he does now. 30 years ago, 25 years ago, these guys were full of vitality, bouncing around the ring, taking stunners from Stone Cold, taking beer baths. And now, Pat's gone. Vince, you see him on the stage tonight. See Jerry Briscoe on the stage. See old Bruce Pritchard on the stage, Bruce is still looking all right, but it just makes you sad, man, to see that old guard kind of all disappearing. And you wonder what the future holds for pro wrestling when guys like Pat Patterson aren't around anymore. One of the pillars of the wrestling business. This is big. It's like when Dusty passed away, That kind of impact on the wrestling business.
Well, it's different though. Like, I think a lot of people are feeling this without question. I mean, you could tell by people reacting by it in the wrestling business. But like with Pat, Pat lived to 79. Like for wrestling, that's amazing. Like you don't see that. Dusty passed away 60, and like he passed away because he fell.
Was he only 60?
Like maybe 64. I could be wrong about that, but like Dusty wasn't.
No. He was 69. He was 69.
But still, he fell though. Like he
passed away from kidney failure. Kidney failure, John.
Caused because he fell.
Okay, yeah, possibly.
He had a fall.
Yeah, but when you're 69 and you have a bad fall, sometimes one thing leads to another. And I mean, look, yes, 69 is young to die. But, I mean, he was really big too, wasn't he?
He had lost quite a bit of weight, actually. And he was still working with WWE. He was still in development.
Yeah, sure. I mean, 69, 79... 79 is still young.
But he was retired. He wasn't in
you,
WWE anymore.
Yeah, so 79 is still pretty young, you know? People live into their 80s and 90s. For wrestling, it's like abnormal. It's abnormal. Like for wrestling, Dusty dying at 69 is like, oh, he had a pretty long life for a wrestler. For a normal human, 69 is like, oh, it's kind of young. What happened there? For a wrestler, it's like, oh yeah, it's a long, healthy life for a wrestler. Because we're accustomed to seeing guys, you know, die at 38. Right?
Sadly.
Yeah. So when you see guys get old, when you see guys die after they retire from wrestling, you're like, oh yeah, he's old enough to die, I suppose. He's retired from wrestling. He's 49, you know? But it's like, no, wait a second. Wrestling's a tough business, man. It's a tough business, and you know, that's why they do that 10-bell salute, because it's war out there. They're like soldiers. High stakes, high reward, but the risks are gigantic, and a lot of guys don't come home. A lot of casualties. It's you know, it's a brotherhood. It's a fellowship. And it's sad when one of those leaders goes, like Pat Patterson. So rest in peace, Pat. We love you. I'll share one quick story about Pat Patterson, just a funny story. It's actually more about Fred Garcia than it is about Pat Patterson. Fred Garcia of Ringside Report fame. Of course, the great Ringside Report show. Ringside Report every Thursday night, 8 p.m. here on the channel. So Freddie and I and my brother went to see Kendrick Lamar at the Bell Center back when concerts happened, you know?
A long time ago.
You know, when you go to a concert, things are quite loud in your ears, so sometimes you may be talking after the show a little bit louder than you realize, right?
Right.
So we're in the Metro. We're going to go take the Metro. And we're going down the escalator at Peel Metro after we walked out of the Bell Center. And we see an older gentleman who is going up the escalator. And I hear Fred go, oh, man, that guy looks like Pat Patterson. But, like, super loud, you know? So that, for sure, the old man that he's not sure is Pat Patterson, you know, he hears it. And as he says it, we pass him on the escalator, so we're going down. He's coming up, and it's clearly Pat Patterson. And Fred's like, oh, man, that looks like Pat Patterson. And I was like, Fred, it is Pat Patterson. And Pat Patterson kind of looks at us because he heard Fred. And Fred's like, oh, hi. And Pat just kind of like nodded, didn't seem too impressed. And that was it. That's the Fred story. It was just really funny because Fred said, oh, man, that guy looks like Pat Patterson. Like, so, and Pat, like, clearly heard it. Was like, yeah, I am Pat Patterson. And it was great because Fred didn't expect to just be taking the Metro in Montreal, you know, taking the subway, and there's Pat Patterson, creator of the Royal Rumble, legend of the business, just coming out of the subway for a night out or coming back home. I think coming back home because he lived downtown in a big high-rise.
Question. How high was Fred that night?
As high as I was.
Because
adequately.
The way you're saying he said it, I could just imagine he must have been quite high saying that.
Good question, John. Good question. I can't tell you exactly because, as you may or may not know, you can't really put a number on it. But I'd say he was at a solid 9. Give him a 9.
Okay.
Give him a 9 on 10. It's better than any WWE pay-per-view. Although, if you're at a 9, it might make those pay-per-views go a little bit smoother. So rest in peace, Pat Patterson. We miss you. I thought they fired Jerry Briscoe. What was Jerry Briscoe? They brought him back?
Yeah, well, they just brought him back for that. Like, Kurt Angle was the same thing too, right? They got rid of Kurt Angle, but they brought him back to be a referee for the NXT match.
Oh, they did? I didn't see that. And what's Sarge doing there? Sarge works for the company still? I didn't know Sergeant Slaughter was still working for the company.
You know what they probably did is they probably filmed something for like a Pat Patterson tribute kind of thing that's going to air on the WWE Network.
Oh,
Got them to film like interviews and all that backstage, so that's probably why they were there.
like as old and kind of sad that Vince and Briscoe looked, Sarge looked good. Did he not? Didn't Sarge look like
but he looks the
really
same.
good? He looks the same.
He looks the same. Yeah.
How the fuck does he look the same? Sarge has got to be 80. Like Sergeant Slaughter.
Well, let's be fair about Sergeant Slaughter. Like, I don't know about you. I don't know if he took steroids.
He's
Like,
72.
He looks. But I don't think he did too much drugs, so I think that probably helped him a lot.
For 72, he looks fantastic. Like, he really does. He looks really good. I'm surprised he's that young, too, because he was wrestling, like, so long ago. He was, like... To me, Sarge has always been wrestling, because when you're in the WWF before I was born, like, you've been around forever, so you're 100. But he's only 72, which is nuts. And he looked good. I was happy to see Sarge on TV again. In the hat. You know, he's wearing the hat. I think he was wearing the sunglasses, too. Well, the glasses and the hat kind of cover up any baldness or, like, eye wrinkles that you may have, too. So, I don't know. Take off the glasses, Sarge. Let's see how you really look. Or not. Whatever. Natty beat Bailey with a sharpshooter clean. What the fuck?
Well, what's wrong? You get mad that Natty won a match, like, clean? Like,
no, but, like,
what's wrong with
that? What? That was weird, wasn't it?
Well, you know what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it seem like Bianca can beat Bailey, right? Because Bianca's undefeated. And Bailey, like, if she wrestled her, it seemed like, it's obvious what would happen. But if Bailey has a losing streak, maybe you doubt that Bailey would beat Bianca. So, by the way, like, her on commentary, like, I don't know what's wrong, but, like, she is absolutely awful. I don't know what's wrong with that. But
she can't talk.
She can't do it.
She can't talk.
No. What happened?
No. What do you mean? She's never been able to talk.
I guess she can do, like, those promos that are done like tapes. Those are fine.
Even then, they're not great.
Well, they're passable. This is not even really passable. Like, she gets lost in what she's talking about.
I saw her on Talking Smack too last week. It was not good. She cannot talk.
I imagine.
It sucks because she's got everything else that you'd want. She can wrestle. She's athletic. She's got, like, all these abilities, She's winning the NXT Combine all the time. She's got a look. She's got a gimmick. But she cannot talk. So, I don't know. She's got to figure it out. Maybe get more comfortable. She seems a little lost out there. Maybe get a few catchphrases to rely on. I don't know. A manager, maybe. I don't know if it gets really bad. Where's Shelton's mama? Get her. Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, and Big E beat Dolph Ziggler, Sami Zayn, and Shinsuke in what they called the Pat Patterson Tribute match. Bryan pinned Sami with a small package for the win for his team. Big E, Bryan, and Rey triple teamed Dolph Ziggler after the match. Why was that a Pat Patterson Tribute match? Because Sami Zayn's the Intercontinental Champion. He's from Montreal, and Pat was a fan of those guys?
Well, no, because they were all former Intercontinental Champions.
Thank you. And Pat was the first Intercontinental Champion, which I told you about on SmackDown tonight, winning the tournament winning the title in a tournament in Brazil, right?
Right.
Which never happened. That tournament doesn't exist. I don't know why they're still carrying on that lie. Now that he's passed on, they're still talking about the Intercontinental Championship tournament there was never a tournament. There was no tournament in Rio de Janeiro. They just made up the tournament so they could have a new title, and they made Pat the first champion. Because they were like, okay, one new belt, let's put the belt on Pat and go from there. Intercontinental Champion. Well, we can't just have a belt. He's got to have won it. Oh, he won it in a tournament in Brazil. That sounds exotic. I mean, that's what happened. And they talked about it on Raw this week, continuing the lie. It's okay. It's okay. They brought out the first legacy, belt. That was cool. Yeah, it's his legacy, I suppose. His pretend legacy. King Corbin beat Murphy After a distraction from Corbin's goons. Corbin had goons this week. Corbin brought friends. And one of them was Blake of the tag team, Blake and Murphy, former NXT tag team champions. Murphy's former tag team partner is back, and he's Corbin's goon. Wasn't he one of the Forgotten Sons, too?
Well, the other guy was also the Forgotten Son, so yeah.
Oh, it's two Forgotten Sons? I forgot about those guys. The Jackson Riker, he's the guy that's like what is he, a racist or something? They don't like him. He's not on TV anymore. That's why they dropped the gimmick. What's the deal? He's a white supremacist, Jackson Riker. What's his story?
Because he did the pro-Trump tweet, and I guess that got a lot of heat. So, it wasn't him there. Though I don't believe he's been released though.
So he wasn't on this thing, Jackson Riker.
No,
it was just his friends.
No.
So it's the two guys from the Forgotten Sons that we all forgot about, and now they're back. One of them is Blake, and the other one is
the other guy.
Cool. I mean, who cares? Not Jackson Riker, who's not a racist, just a Trump supporter. Although I guess sometimes those two go hand in hand, but are not necessarily, right? So, like, you can be a racist and a Trump supporter, but just because you're a Trump supporter doesn't necessarily mean you're a racist. Do I have that right?
Well, what got him in trouble was that he did a pro-Trump tweet. That's what got him in trouble. So
he got in trouble for. That seems a bit odd. You tweet support for the president of the United States and you get heat for that and you get completely removed from the TV show? That's a strange thing when I mean, Vince is a big supporter. So is Chris Jericho.
I think it might have been the timing of when he did that pro tweet, perhaps.
Well, whatever. He seems kind of whatever. Seems silly. Corbin's got goons. Good for Corbin. He's got some friends. Street Profits are back to doing what they did when they first started on TV, doing backstage promos about everything else on the show. They even talked about Roman Reigns. Shouldn't they be attacked for talking about Roman Reigns? You know, they don't respect Roman. Shouldn't Roman get mad at the Street Profits saying, anything about him? Because that's kind of been his gimmick. Like, if you talk shit about Roman or even mention his name without saying how he's the big dog and ruler of the yard or tribal chief, head of the table, whatever, then you get attacked. But I guess Roman wasn't watching this promo.
Well, I guess they're back on just doing the commentary of the shows now. Like, when they're not involved in matches, whatever, they'll just do that old gimmick they used to do on Raw. So maybe in a sense, like, they're kind of like the interviewers where they just say whatever they want kind of thing.
I don't know. It's weird. There's only one interviewer I want to watch on SmackDown, and that's Kayla, damn it! I love Kayla. Kayla's great.
Roman was not very happy with this week.
Yeah, well, shut up, Roman. Don't say anything about Kayla. I really like Kayla. I don't know why. I think she's fine. I think she's very good. I like her. I'm a fan of Kayla. Okay? All right, Sean? I'm Kayla's number one fan.
That's fine. I mean, she doesn't understand get COVID twice, but, that's fine.
Yeah, she has COVID twice, and she survived. How could you not love Kayla? She's stronger than death, just like Matt Hardy. Robert Roode shows up. He says he wants a tag title shot against the Profits. Cesaro was there. Cesaro hasn't been on TV for, over a month. All of a sudden, he shows up. He's wearing a tie for some reason, and he wants a tag team title shot with Nakamura. So that might happen at some point. No real resolution there. And then Kevin Owens and Otis in the main event beat Roman and Jey Uso by disqualification when Roman, as the illegal man, choked out Kevin Owens. Jey and Roman then took turns smashing Kevin Owens with steel chairs until Roman decided to hit Jey with a chair too. I didn't catch that. Why?
Because he told Jey there was going to be consequences because he put out the challenge. He took the mic away from Roman, and Roman told him there's going to be consequences for that. So there you go.
How come there's no consequences for Roman for beating the shit out of Jey with a chair? How come Jay's not like, oh, here's consequences, Roman? You
Head of the
asshole.
table.
What?
Head of the table. Know your role.
I mean, shouldn't Jay like push Roman off the ladder and be like, fucking revenge? Kevin Owens is champion now. Fuck you. No? At some point, like if Jay keeps getting beat up, shouldn't he turn on Roman?
Respect the family.
Rob Clue says that Jackson Riker apparently had racist tweets apparently in the past, and he cheered Trump encouraging police violence at peaceful protests. Depends on your definition of a peaceful protest there, Rob. I don't know. I saw some of those protests. Didn't seem that peaceful, but the police also didn't seem that peaceful. I think there are some bad people on both sides. Notice I didn't say good people on both sides. I said bad people on both sides. I don't think there are good people on both sides. I think there are mostly bad people, and there are good people here and there. But I can't say that there are good people on both sides, or either side, quite frankly. I think both sides are quite bad. I think if you take a side vehemently, you need to check yourself on those issues. I mean, if you take a side on professional wrestling vehemently, I mean, obviously, you are level-headed, making the right decision at the time. John, I think we need to talk about AEW. But before we do, I want to tell you about our friends over at Manscaped. Everybody knows about Johnny Norris balls. They are clean-shaven. They are nice. They smell good. Why? Because of Manscaped. Okay?
Good that you know.
I mean, I assume. I don't know, but I assume because you have all the Manscaped products. You've got the Lawnmower 3.0. You've got the ball deodorant. You've got all the great stuff from Manscaped that you got at manscaped.com. You use that promo code ringside20. You got 20% off your order plus free shipping, so now your balls are top-notch. That's what I assume. Am I wrong, Johnny North, or do you have great balls? Are your balls terrible, or are they excellent? And are they excellent because, in part, of Manscaped?
They've definitely improved dramatically because of Manscaped. There's no
Bingo.
question about it.
Bingo. Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. And as I say, the people that are near your balls or see your balls will thank you as well. And you always want to keep those people happy. If people are near your balls, you want to keep them happy, right? Do you want them to think, oh, that was not a good experience? There was a smell there that was not so fresh, not so clean. A little too much hair in my face or mouth. You don't want that. Manscaped. Manscaped.com. Promo code ringside20. 20% off your order and free shipping. Hook yourself up.
Wow. Very graphic right there. Wow.
Because I said face or mouth?
Exactly.
Well, I'm being realistic, John.
That's fine. You're just
being
blunt.
realistic.
It's cool.
Look, man.
Being real.
I am trying to help people out, okay? Sometimes, you think you have a nice time with a lady. Everything's going well. You seem to enjoy yourselves. You don't hear from her again. You say, what happened? Everything was going so well. Conversation was good. Cracking jokes. Everything was fine.
Probably wasn't a wrestling fan.
We had fun afterwards. We had a little rendezvous back at her place. I left. Never heard from her again. Why? She was unsatisfied with your balls, and I'm here to help you out. Okay? The balls were not
exactly.
I'm just telling you, John. It happened to you.
When did it?
This is a hypothetical. This is a hypothetical
it's
scenario
okay.
that I'm making up for the Wrestling Uncensored universe. Okay? I'm just saying that sometimes, they're like, oh, it was a good time, but the guy's balls smelled a little bad, so I'm not going to call him again. Well, if you have ball deodorant, you have Manscaped, it's not going to happen to you anymore. You're going to get that call back. You're going to be back in action, back in the saddle, baby. Manscaped, baby. Mako83 says, show us, Big Johnny, show us. I think that will get us kicked off YouTube, Mako. Let's not show us, Johnny.
It would be. It would.
Even if it didn't get us kicked off YouTube, I just don't want to see it. So that's just my personal preference. AEW. My God, what a show this week. That was wild stuff. I mean, I want to start at
Well,
the end because I think the end was the craziest bit. Kenny Omega beats Jon Moxley via pinfall after the one-winged angel and some help with a microphone that Don Callis gave him. Kenny hit Moxley with a microphone, that sound right in the head. You hear that?
Right.
It sounded exactly like I hit somebody in the head with a microphone. You hear that? Boom! Moxley goes down. Good God Almighty.
powerful.
And then Don Callis and Kenny escape after the match together. And Callis tells Marvez to tune into Impact Wrestling on Tuesday to hear from the new champion. Impact Wrestling? So Don Callis, of course, is one of the guys who runs Impact Wrestling. We've been seeing him in AEW over the past few months. Every once in a while, he'll show up for a Kenny match. But he's just like a guy who is friends with Kenny, who has a history with Kenny. They're both Winnipeg guys, and that seemed to be the extent of it. But there was always wonder, like, well, Callis is he's one of the main guys running Impact Wrestling. It's kind of weird that he's showing up just to do commentary on an AEW show. It seemed a bit suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, there's clearly some sort of working relationship because Kenny Omega will be on Impact Wrestling Tuesday night. His first appearance after beating Jon Moxley to become the AEW World Champion will be on Impact Wrestling. That is crazy. And I feel like I should hate it, but I don't. I love it. I think it's great. I don't know what this story is, but goddamn, it's got my attention. It's got me wanting to tune into Impact Wrestling, and it's got me very interested in this kind of promotional war, promotional sharing of talent, whatever's going on. I saw Dave Meltzer reporting that Tony Khan and Rocky Romero are in talks to do some sort of New Japan Pro Wrestling exchange with AEW as well. So AEW is looking to work with these other companies, and they've got a relationship with the NWA. They've got a relationship with Impact. They may have a relationship coming with New Japan Pro Wrestling. It opens up the wrestling business. It makes things more interesting. And look, we've seen Impact. They need the help. They need the help. I don't know what Impact really brings to AEW other than the Good Brothers, but I'm sure that there are some guys that can show up and do some damage. I think this makes both companies better. I think it helps Impact more at this point because there are more eyeballs in AEW than there are on Impact. But I think this is good for AEW as well. But goddamn, man. Kenny's the champion. First and foremost, that happened. That needed to happen. That's what I wanted to happen. Kenny Omega, number one. Best bout machine. He's the AEW World Champion. Perfect. But this whole thing with Don Callis and Impact, like, I don't know what's going on, but I like it. I like it. Do you like it?
Well, I like it because I wasn't expecting this whatsoever. Like, I mean, we were expecting Kenny to win the match, but that was pretty much it. He was just going to win, and not much was going to happen. But this finally, like, there's something to Kenny winning the championship. Before, Kenny wasn't doing much. Now, Kenny's kind of like a traitor to AEW, and by going to Impact Wrestling, it's kind of like shifted the direction of this story, where it's like now Kenny has kind of stabbed AEW in the back, and now what's going to happen with this? Like, I didn't see this one coming whatsoever. It's a huge surprise, and when you're surprised in wrestling, that's a good thing.
Yes, exactly. That's what you want to see. You want to see things that you're not expecting. You want to be surprised. And I was surprised a couple of times on this show. The Kenny thing at the end, big surprise. What are they going to do? No idea. But I'm invested. I love it. I love it. And before we talk about the other surprise that I don't love as much, but I was surprised by, what happened at the end of Dynamite? Did you hear something?
All I heard was the promo that was happening, and they got in the limo, and that was it.
Okay, because somebody was on commentary and was like, forget waiting, I want Lance Archer right now. And it was Eddie Kingston.
Because it was Eddie Kingston. Yeah, that happened, yeah.
Why did that happen at the end of the show? After the whole Kenny angle, all you hear on commentary as they're going off the air is Eddie Kingston demanding Lance Archer, and you're like, well, is this going to happen? What is it? Huh? And then that was it. That was strange.
Right. I think it's just because they knew they didn't have time to put something like that together on the show. There was no place for it, so they just threw it at the end, just to add to the whole chaotic situation, and just so you're left feeling like what the heck's going on kind of thing. Like so much is happening, and then this happened. It was just to add on to the ending, the fact that we can't get to this, but we'll get to this eventually.
Unnecessary. I don't think they needed to do that at all. And when Kenny was hurt in the match, was he really hurt? Because that was like a rough fall that he took down on the floor, and his eye was cut up like in a real way. He was busted up.
Right.
What happened there, John?
Right.
That was rough.
Well, it looked like he just took a nasty fall, but
yeah,
like for the most part, he seemed fine though. Like he was able to run away from the ring pretty well, so it didn't seem like he was having problems walking afterwards. Or I don't know if he didn't really talk, but I don't think he seemed to have any concussion-like symptoms from what we saw. It wasn't like Matt Hardy bad.
Was that your match of the week?
I think it has to be, just because it delivered what you wanted and a surprise too at the end. I mean,
yeah.
What else gave you that? I mean, I thought the Jeff Hardy match was also very good, but this was just a little bit more because of that ending.
I also liked AJ Styles, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee. I thought that was a very good match, but I felt like of all the wrestling I saw this week, Kenny and Moxley was the number one match. It was a good 30-minute world title match, crazy finish, insane storyline afterwards. Like, could you imagine, whoever, Drew McIntyre's your new WWE champion. Drew comes out, I'm going to see you on Impact on Tuesday. Like, what the? Like, people would lose their minds. It's so crazy. Like, this isn't that, but it's, it's a new AEW champion saying he's going to be on Impact, not Dynamite. I mean, he might be on Dynamite too. He probably will be, but, like, he's going to be on Impact on Tuesday. That's wild. Because we didn't even know they had an affiliation, and now, like they reveal the affiliation and that Kenny's going there. What does this mean? Is he just staying on Impact? Is he taking the AEW title and holding it there because he's not happy with how he's been treated in AEW? Like, what is the story? This is good. The possibilities here are big. This is a different style of pro wrestling. This is not what we're used to here in North America, John, and I feel like things are starting to really heat up. I feel like AEW is starting to really give us things that we wanted, and also things that we wanted but we didn't know that we wanted. And now it's like, oh shit, promotional warfare. That's cool. I didn't know I wanted that, but I do.
Well, I still found that Raw overall had the better wrestling this week, but AEW had better surprises though. There's no question about that.
So, Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin are teaming to beat Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs. Darby got the pinfall on Starks after the coffin drop. Hobbs and Starks attacking Cody and Darby after the match. Arn Anderson tries to make the save, but gets taken out and takes a bump. Arn took a bump.
Somewhat, yeah.
Dustin Rhodes then came out to make the save. A little bit of a younger man than Arn, but barely. But Brian Cage stops him. And then
more active.
The lights go out.
And then a lot of snow comes down.
Snow, because the winter is coming, was about this man. I didn't even know there was going to be a guy. And I was watching this show with my brother and my son. And
that must have been fun.
It was fun, right? Because my son is aware of who Sting is. And, we're all watching the show like, oh, there's like a mystery guy. Who's the mystery guy? Who's it going to be, right? And I'm sure this is your reaction too. I'm sure it's a lot of people's reaction. We're like, well, oh, who could this be? Who's this going to be? Some guy maybe we've never heard. I thought it was going to be like Wardlow or somebody that you've never seen before, you've never heard of, that was just going to show up and be like, wow, I'm new here, you know? Or somebody that you've kind of, like Jeff Cobb or somebody like that. Like,
I thought Ryback, actually.
You thought Ryback? Yeah, like somebody like that. I didn't expect Sting. When the effects started going and the snow started falling, did you think, oh, here comes the Stinger? I didn't.
No, I didn't notice too. There was a crow before you saw the Sting name pop up. But yeah, that was nice. I really enjoyed that. Like that was wow.
Here comes old man Borden, Steve Borden, 61-year-old Stinger shows up, goes face to face with Arn Anderson, then Dustin Rhodes, then Cody, then Darby. All the heels kind of scattered, and Sting really had moments with babyface guys, which makes you wonder, like, Sting, Cody, are they going to do that? Is Sting a guy that should be wrestling at this stage? He's 61. The last time he wrestled, he was seriously injured. I was happy, with the surprise, and we were all sitting there. We all had the same reaction, like, Sting? My son, my almost 3.5-year-old son, turns to me. He's like, "What's Sting doing here? He used to be in WWE." Like, I like that. That's his reference of Sting. Like, because
right,
he doesn't know WCW really. Although he does have like a little Sting WCW action figure that I have from like the 90s. He's like this.
Right.
He doesn't move.
Doesn't know.
He's got the flat top.
WCW.
No, but he knows it's Sting, So he does have a Sting toy. Mm-hmm. But he's like, "Oh, Sting's here?" And my brother and I have the same reaction. We're like, "Sting's here?" It was actually fun. It was the first like wrestling like shocker moment that I've shared with my son, where he and I were feeling the same thing. You know what I mean? Like our reaction was the same. It was like, fucking Sting, So that was good. That was fun. That was fun for me as a dad, as a wrestling dad, to sit there and have that moment with my son. But when the reality hits and you realize he's 61, you're like, well, what can you really do here? What's the high bar that we can set here with Sting? Like, what's the goal? Him and Cody have a good match for 15 minutes on pay-per-view or TV? Like, what is the goal here with Sting? How much are they paying for this? Is it worth the investment? I don't know if Sting was ever worth the investment in Impact, and I wonder here, is he worth it?
Well, I question that in Impact. In Impact, like, he was practically the guy. If you think about it, too, in WCW, he was also the guy.
Would you rather have him in Impact or AJ Styles? Because it seemed to me like they overpaid for Sting for so long that they stopped being able to afford their real talent. Seemed like they overpaid for Sting for so long that they stopped being able to afford the young guys that actually were the heart and soul of that company. I think they overpaid for Sting in Impact. I mean, he wasn't the only legend that was there, and Sting wasn't just there to kind of take a paycheck, whatever, but, they paid him a lot of money, and he was their main guy, and they did too much with Sting for too long, and it was to their detriment. It was. They could have kept AJ Styles, but they didn't. They chose to pay Sting $500,000 a year. That's a fact.
Well, personally, I loved Joker Sting. I'm glad we got those.
You were the only one.
With Sting. I don't think I was. He loved it too. He mentioned his Hall of Fame speech.
So he
but
liked it.
Regardless, in terms of like legends, like Sting might be one of the biggest of all time. When you think about it, like who has more victories over Hulk Hogan? Like, I honestly think Sting has the most.
Does he?
When you think about...
How many does he have? I guess in WCW he had a few.
And TNA.
Yeah.
He got one as well.
Okay. So he beat Hogan a few times.
Yeah, but whoever beats Hogan, like Flair couldn't do it, Savage couldn't do it,
Jacques
but Sting could
Rougeau,
do it as one. Sting
Ultimate
much more.
Warrior.
Again, one. And Taker,
Uh,
like Taker has two. Taker's up
Taker.
there, but Sting still has more.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been a Sting fan. You know me. I'm not a Sting fan. I'm not going to sit here and disparage the man. I'm just going to say 61 years old. Come on, man. I don't want to watch a 61-year-old man wrestle. It's ridiculous. He's a 61-year-old man in spandex and face paint. Like, come on. That's enough.
Well, the question here is, like, he's going to be, according to Dave Meltzer, he's going to be on Dynamite every week. So I don't think he's just going to be wrestling. I think he's going to be doing other things, like in terms of maybe just promos, maybe even managing someone.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
I don't think he can wrestle every week. That's not going to happen. But apparently he's going to be on TV every week. So there's going to be other uses for him than just wrestling.
Like as a mentor type character to Darby Allin, because Darby's kind of sitting there in the crowd like Sting used to stand there in the rafters. Yes, right. I like that. But like wrestling more than one match, no. You want to have a match with Cody or something, okay. Maybe go with Dustin Rhodes one more time, just for old time's sake, whatever. Sure. But, let's not wrestle too much. Sting will speak on Dynamite coming up on Wednesday. They have a big episode. Sting will speak, do a promo. It'll be Orange Cassidy versus MJF for the AEW Diamond Ring. Young Bucks versus TH2 in a non-title match. Dustin Rhodes will be in action against 10 of the Dark Order. Chris Jericho has an ultimatum set for the Inner Circle. Either they get along next week or they break up forever. FTR will take on Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. FTR back in action for the first time since losing the tag team titles. Abaddon will wrestle. And Lance Archer and the Lucha Bros teaming up to take on Eddie Kingston, Butcher, and The Blade. Young Bucks didn't really do much this week. They had a little promo with TH2. The Acclaimed show up and did a rap promo. Matt Jackson with the line of the night saying, didn't somebody already do this gimmick? The Acclaimed basically doing the John Cena rap. It was not very good. And Matt Jackson made fun of him. I don't know. Is that supposed to be good? I didn't like it. TH2 showed up, attacked the Bucks. They're going to have a match next week. Whatever.
Well, we get to see Jack Evans on Dynamite. That's great, in my opinion.
Okay. We saw Chris Jericho on Dynamite this week. Le Champion beat Frankie Kazarian after the Judas effect. Lots of interference from the Inner Circle. Right in front of the ref, too. I don't know
there
what was going
way
on there.
Too much interference on the whole show, period. Like,
yeah.
I'm glad it's rare that it happens, actually, like, where there's that much interference on one show, but every match, like, it was way too much.
So MJF showed up at one point during the match and was going to throw in the towel for Jericho, but Sammy Guevara stopped him, and then Jericho eventually won, and Sammy and MJF were shoving each other, and they were all at each other's throats, and Jericho's like, either you get along next week or you break up forever. So I don't really know what getting along is going to look like, but no doubt another comedy segment from the Inner Circle. Britt Baker beat Leela Hirsch with the lockjaw submission. Decent match there. Thunder Rosa attacking Britt after the match. Yeah. I like the Diamond Battle Royal. I thought that was good. Orange Cassidy won the Battle Royal. MJF was in the match for some reason, but then at the end, like he wasn't in the match. What was going on with MJF? Like Orange, MJF, and Wardlow seemed to be the final three, but then it was just Wardlow and MJF, or Wardlow and Orange, because MJF, I guess, was never officially in the match, even though he was participating like he was. What happened there?
No. It in the end, like, it was MJF, Wardlow, and Orange Cassidy was on the outside because he got thrown outside the ring by Miro.
Yeah.
So he was never eliminated. So when he came back in, that was the end of it. So,
but he only eliminated Wardlow.
Right. So then now we're getting a match between Orange Cassidy and MJF.
Oh, so
that happened last time too.
So Orange and MJF won the Battle Royal.
Right.
See, I was confused. I thought Orange won the Battle Royal. MJF was never actually in it. MJF is just defending his... See, that's how it should be. This is stupid. Like, I thought MJF, because he's the holder of the ring, whoever won the Battle Royal faces MJF for the ring. Like, that makes more sense. Rather than have MJF in the Battle Royal... Like, last year, it made sense. It was like, okay, well, the final two guys in the Battle Royal, you'll have a match, and then you'll have a winner, so you'll have a ring holder. But now, it's like, well, why not just have a winner of the Battle Royal and then give that guy a match against the ring holder? Instead of having the ring holder in the Battle Royal with Orange, and then MJF and Orange both win the Battle Royal, and then they have a match, it's like, well, MJF already has the ring. And now he won the Battle Royal. Like, it's stupid. It's too much. Like, just let Orange win a normal Battle Royal and face MJF next week for the ring.
You're kind of making it easy on MJF, not letting him wrestle also this week. Like, at least he got to do something, so.
But it seems dumb that he did wrestle. Because he already has a diamond ring. And if you're setting up MJF versus Orange, like, it seems kind of obvious that MJF, I don't know. It was dumb. I didn't like it. I was confused after the Battle Royal. I was like, what the hell's happening here? Was MJF ever in this match? It's not like commentary does a great job of explaining to me what's going on, because they seem just as confused as I am.
Well, there was a lot going on, by the way. In that Battle Royal, there's a lot of stories going on. I don't know if you caught all that, but... I mean,
Hangman had a whole thing. Hangman and the Dark Order was my favorite thing. When John Silver jumped on Hangman's back and was like, ee, 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 ee. Like, that was my favorite part of probably the whole show. I mean, definitely the Battle Royal. And Hangman's face, like, Hangman was trying to keep a straight face, but even he was laughing. John Silver jumped on Hangman's back and looked like he was having the time of his life. John Silver looks like a human minion. You know the minions from Despicable Me? That's what John Silver is like. He's like one of those little, and like Hangman's trying to join the Dark Order now. John Silver, BTE champion, reigning and defending BTE champion. If you watch this week, he beat Trent in that mustard challenge, which I'm sure Johnny didn't watch. And if you did, John, you would hate it because it was just a very long time of Trent and John Silver throwing mustard packs from one end of a table to the other into a thing. And it was like that's their YouTube content. And they have like 1 million more views than us. I don't know what they're doing, but they got John Silver. Johnny Hungy. Start saying Johnny Hungy. Maybe we'll get the views that BTE gets. I don't know. Maybe. But I love John Silver. I think he's great and all that stuff. When Hangman was going to get eliminated from the Battle Royal, but the Dark Order's right there and they save him. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then like put him back in the ring, They were all excited for Hangman. That was great stuff. You think Hangman's going to join the Dark Order?
I didn't believe it before, but after this, it seems like they're kind of pushing it. Like, we're going to get to some sort of like situation where it's going to be like you either join us or something's going to happen to you. So, yeah, it could very well happen. I mean, a lot depends on Brody Lee. Like, is he going to come back ever? Because I think that will be a telling part towards it.
What? Is there a chance he doesn't ever come back?
Well, they don't really talk about it whatsoever. Like, people bring it up and in interviews, and they kind of just brush it off a lot. So you kind of wonder.
Well, I assume he's just hurt and will come back at some point.
Yeah, you hope so. But you never know. Some people don't come back from injuries, right?
That's true. Some injuries could be career-ending. Apparently, Dave Meltzer's saying that Lee's injury is a possible ankle injury, so that's not usually career-ending, right? I don't know.
But when you're a bigger man.
Yeah, I guess so. I think, the best-case scenario for Hangman is that he wonders whether or not he should join the Dark Order, eventually does join the Dark Order. As soon as he makes a decision, the very next week, Brody Lee comes back and he's like, what the fuck? I never wanted Hangman in the Dark Order. Get the fuck out of here, Hangman. Because they were always chanting, fuck Hangman, They hate Hangman in the Dark Order. They had a whole thing on being the elite where all of the Dark Order is in a room and they're chanting, fuck Hangman, fuck Hangman. And then Hangman comes in and they're all scared. And then he's like, no, it's okay. And then he starts chanting "fuck Hangman" with them, and it's like really crazy. So like Dark Order and Hangman have a long history on BTE, and I think it would be great if like, you know, this new version of Dark Order with Silver, who seems to be leading the group, they kind of enlist Hangman, and then Brody shows up and he's like, I never gave permission for this. Hangman's out of the group. And then he's mad at John Silver for even, you know, enlisting him to join the Dark Order. He's like pissed once again in his whole group. That would make sense. And then you do Brody and Hangman.
Well, again, there's a long path towards the next pay-per-view, right? The next pay-per-view is in February, so a lot can happen from now until then.
You are right. When is the next pay-per-view? February, you said? Revolution?
Like February 26th, I think, or something like that.
Jeez, brother. Yeah,
well,
Revolution.
That's good, though.
27th.
I like having 27th. See, it's good to have breaks. Like, you know, like pay-per-view every couple of weeks. It's kind of too much.
Yeah, it is too much. I like the AEW schedule, 4 pay-per-views a year. And, you know, it makes their TV shows a lot more important. Things actually happen on their TV shows. You have title changes. You know, like last week we were previewing this show, and we're like, is the title going to change? What's going to happen with Moxley and Kenny? I figured Kenny would win the title. He did. But then who could predict what happened afterwards? You know, they're doing compelling TV. Really compelling TV. WWE, man, not so much. But AEW is doing fun stuff. And their schedule helps. You know, the fact that their TV shows can be more meaningful because they only have 1 a week and they only have 4 pay-per-views a year. Like, you can do more shit when you have less time to do it on. You kind of have to do, you know, your big events have to happen on your weekly TV shows if you only have 4 pay-per-views a year. You have to have, you know, momentous things happening on these TV shows. Whereas WWE, they have so many pay-per-views, you don't even have big events happening on the pay-per-views because they have so many of them. They're just like TV shows.
Well,
too much.
WWE, it's a lot bigger than AEW, but you're starting to see with AEW as well, they're kind of growing quite a bit now, and it feels like I find they need that second show now because a lot of people are kind of being lost in the shuffle in a sense. If you're going to have Sting on every week, someone's going to lose a spot there. Mm-hmm. You really need that second show.
Yeah, and you can rotate people in and out. You know, you don't need to see certain people every week. Certain people you do need to see every week, though. You know, certain people you need to see often to get them over on your main TV show. Or I guess maybe you'll share the time with Impact Wrestling and get people over there. That's where Kenny will be on Tuesday night, and I will be watching Impact Wrestling Tuesday night for the first time in maybe ever on a Tuesday night. I don't think I'll be the only one.
I saw Bound for Glory, and then I'm like, you know, screw Impact Wrestling. That was terrible. So
yeah,
but I'll give it another shot for this, I guess, since we're going to be talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to see what Kenny does. I'm just interested. I'm not watching it for the show. I'm watching it for me because I like to see Kenny. I'm a Kenny fan. I'm happy he's the champion. War Games is this Sunday. You going to watch it?
I don't know. Like, I'm kind of upset about War Games a bit. Like, not that the matches are bad, but the idea of War Games to me was it's a closed cage, you know? And, like, I get why they have the open cage because they like to have cool spots, but War Games, it wasn't like that before. And they shouldn't call it War Games, in my opinion, but they do. So I'm kind of, like, off by that. Like, it'll probably be a good show, but I just don't like the idea that they call it War Games because it really isn't War Games.
I mean, Pat McAfee's going to wrestle again.
Your favorite.
Ugh. What a terrible wrestler that guy is. I don't know why people love him so much. His last match there with Adam Cole was so bad. Yeah, apparently he cuts a good promo. I haven't really seen it. But, like, those punches that he threw, everything that he did, every wrestling move that he attempted in that match was so awful, so embarrassing to professional wrestling. The fact that people actually thought that was good, it's just like, come on. You don't understand wrestling. Go back and watch that. Look how he hits the ropes. Look how he throws punches. It was laughable. Laughable. And I was laughing at him, but other people were like, oh, he's really good. I was like, what? They're like, best debut ever. I'm like, what? What's the matter with you people? Figure out fucking wrestling. It's not that hard to figure out. This guy is not good at it. He's going to be teaming with Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and Oni Lorcan to take on Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Bobby Fish in the War Games. Blech. Women's War Games, it'll be Team Shotzi. Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai against Team Candice, Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Toni Storm. Leon Ruff defending the NXT North American title against Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest. Dexter Lumis against Cameron Grimes in a strap match. Timothy Thatcher, Tommaso Ciampa one-on-one. That could be good. The rest of this thing, ooh. Thatcher Ciampa should be good. I'll watch that. The rest of it, I'm not too interested in. Looks pretty bad.
Well, there's also Tribute to the Troops as well this Sunday. So there's a lot of action from WWE this week.
Yeah. Tribute to the Troops Sunday afternoon on Fox. It's going to be between football games or after football games or before football games, depending on where you live. I know locally here for people that live in the Montreal area, the Burlington, Vermont area, Plattsburgh area, 3 p.m. Sunday afternoon is when Tribute to the Troops is supposed to happen. 3 p.m. on Fox this Sunday. I checked it out. I checked my local listings, John, so I could give you the information. 3 o'clock on Sunday for Tribute to the Troops, and then I guess 7 o'clock for War Games on the network, which... watch it or don't. I don't know. I won't. I mean, I might tune in for a bit, but don't expect a watch-along or post-show for this thing, because who gives a shit? NXT is, looks like the rest of the WWE, at an all-time low.
Well, Tribute to the Troops, from what I saw, I think there's maybe one match I'd be interested in, so I don't know if I'll catch that.
What's the match? I don't even know what's on the card.
I believe there's a match where it's going to be Sasha and I think Bianca Belair teaming together. I think it's Bayley and Natty, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. Oh, Drew McIntyre versus The Miz.
Yeah, I didn't say I was interested in that.
Bianca and Sasha versus Bayley and Natty.
That's one.
And Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy, and Street Profits versus King Corbin, Elias, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode. A 10-man tag. 3 big matches announced.
It's a little too overbooked.
Yeah,
too overbooked for me to care about that one.
I don't really care about any of this stuff. Tribute to the Troops is a nothing show. Who cares? Big Johnny. Go on Twitter and follow Big Johnny at North Genesis. Follow him on Instagram at Genesis Johnny North. Follow me on all the things at Dave Simon MMA. RingsideReport.net is our website. Check out everything that we do over there. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel. And when you do, click the bell so you get notifications each and every time that we are on. I will be back here on, what? I get a little break ski, right? Thursday night? No watch-alongs this weekend. Thursday night, I'll be back for Ringside Report MMA. Don't forget, tomorrow night, my parlay is Marvin Vettori, John Vellante, and Oved St. Preux. Go with that parlay. You can get it at like plus 600 at bet99.com. Go check it out. That's our big parlay for the weekend. We like OSP. We like John Vellante. Those are my locks. I got a ticket. I would show you, but I don't want to show you the barcode. But I just placed a bet tonight on John Vellante and OSP parlay. $20 wins me $60-something. So there you go. That's money. That's money in the bank, baby. We're making you rich on Ringside Report MMA. I'm telling you, John, I'm hot. I'm on fire. Doesn't feel like a gamble anymore. Just feels like we're printing money. It's pretty good. It's a good feeling. I think we have the new career. I think I figured out how we're going to make the millions, John. It's off gambling for MMA. And so far it's It's been paying off. Like November was crazy hot, so we'll see what happens. But we're doing well.
For MMA, for boxing, not so much.
I'm not a boxing expert. I'm doing MMA research. I'm just joking around with the boxing picks that I gave for the Mike Tyson thing last week was all jokes, you know? I don't know. What do I know about boxing? MMA, though, like I'm telling you, I'm watching a lot of fights. I'm doing a lot of research to prep and give you really good picks and try to win everybody some money. So we're going to beat Las Vegas once again this weekend. Okay? I watch a lot of these fights. Yeah, it's happening, Johnny. Do yourself a favor. Put some money down yourself. Let's get some money.
I might have to if you keep getting them all right all the time.
That's what I'm saying, man. I keep getting everything right. The track record is speaking for itself. Like, I feel like I have an edge. Maybe I'm wrong, and eventually I will lose. I know this, but right now I'm hot. I feel like I have an edge when it comes to MMA gambling because I've watched so many fights, and I feel like if I do enough research and I watch enough of these guys fight, you know, before their fight on Saturday, I can get a pretty good idea on how the fight's going to go. I don't understand how Jamal Hill is a favorite going into the fight tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. OSP plus 220. Let's do it. That's it. That's all. RingsideReport.net for everything else. Subscribe to the channel. We love you big time. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Big shout-out to our main man, Patrick C. Hamilton, out in Regina, Saskatchewan. We appreciate you, Patrick, very much. Thank you, Patrick, so much for supporting the channel. And everybody else watching and chatting and listening and all the things that you do. We appreciate you. Thank you. For Johnny, I'm Dave. This has been Wrestling Uncensored.